voice and technology. So I think the key thing for us is, before we even go into pricing a product, to make sure that the infrastructure is stable, of the highest quality, and quite available. That's first. Secondly, to make sure that distribution is also readily available. And once again, they're using technology. So it's not just about the physical cards, it's also about electronic distribution to make sure that people have access to airtime all over. The third one is about customer service and quality. We're very, very focused on customer service and quality, be it from our call center or our service centers, to make sure that people have the most awesome experience. I think those are key principles. Secondly, from innovation, then we will bring through all the products and services that we've rolled out across our 22 other operations, ranging from voice, where we have quite highly innovative voice tariffs like MTN Zone, which allows us to give us discounts and quite high discounts, even up to 100% for MTN to MTN calls. We're talking about bringing mobile money, which is quite a unique innovation for us, which allows the unbanked people to actually have access to banking. We talk about solutions for our SMEs, so we have something we call SME in a box, which allows people to buy a Wi-Fi card, a combination, and say, how do I always set up a business? So for us, really, it's a multi-segmented approach, which talks to multiple customers, and not forgetting the youth. We have very exciting youth packages with our proposition MTN Play, which has lots of music, content, and sport. So it is really offering everything for everyone.
As you know, Myanmar GDP is relatively low. So your marketing penetrating, how can you make your market for the paying your MTN to Myanmar people one by one?
Absolutely. I think if you look at the markets we operate in, they are typically markets of very low GDP. And really it's about accessibility and affordability. And I think the key thing for us there is, and I think the government is doing a lot of work to make sure that the SIM cards are affordable. And I think that for us is quite key, to make sure affordability is there. But it's one thing to be affordable, it's another to be accessible, which means people must be able to get it. And I think for us, that's the biggest opportunity we bring, that we will roll out fast and wide to make sure that people have access to the telephony, which is quite important as well.
Yes, what is your future impact concerning about the business in mobile telecommunication network? I mean, your expectation
Absolutely.
future, yes.
Well, I think if you look at, and we base it on what we've done in many operations, like we said, in Iran, we launched in 2006, there were 154,000 subscribers. Now in 2013, we have 51 million subscribers. So I think it's quite a big and positive growth in that regard. Most importantly, if you see research, it has shown that with an increase in internet penetration, especially mobile internet penetration, there is also an increase in GDP because people have access to information and access to technology. So we hope to make a positive impact on the economy of Myanmar.
Thank you for your
Thank you very
kindness
much.
and sorry to miss my business new channels. Yes.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to ask some questions.
Super, thank you very much.
I'd like to know your name and your responsibility.
Okay. My name is Sarame Daukubo. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer from MTN in South Africa.
What is the MTN track record in rolling out of the network infrastructure in the market?
I think it depends on various markets, but if I used our last three countries, in fact Iran being the most recent one, we took about 6 months to roll out from issue of a license. So I think depending on the environment, we try to launch as quickly as possible. And I think we pride ourselves in saying within 6 months we'll be able to be providing good services to the people of Myanmar.
The second question is stated about some of the existing MTN products and services which the people of Myanmar can look forward to if MTN is awarded an operating license.
I think the key thing for us is to start from the basics. One is to make sure that we have a network that is available across the whole country, which is quite important. Two, to make sure that our distribution is just as strong so that people can buy recharge cards. And here again, we're bringing through innovation, not just physical recharge cards, but electronic top-up, something we call Me to You, which is you can send airtime to your friend and vice versa. We were bringing through mobile money, which is quite an innovative product that we've launched in many of our operations, which allows people who have previously not been banked to be banked. We have MTN Zone, which is quite a strong tariff plan for us, where within MTN to MTN, calls can be as low as 100% off, which is quite good and quite aggressive. We'll bring across data and various data plans, and most importantly, data speeds for customers to enjoy that. We'll bring on quite a lot of data bundles in terms of smartphone data bundles for people to enjoy things like BlackBerry and the likes. And then for the youth, we have MTN Play, a lot of portal which has music, sport, entertainment. So we bring lots for everybody.
The next question is stated about MTN Mobile Money and MTN Song.
Sure. I think MTN Mobile Money certainly a very big product for us. It allows us to provide people in the unbanked communities to have access to transferring money, to making mobile payments. So we work with local banks to ensure that we can give a wider community of Myanmar access to banking. We're very excited about the product.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
I'm the last one.
Okay.
I'm also from Myanmar.
Perfect.
Yes.
You want to talk to me about marketing here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Marketing officer. So
Super.
we just talk about the marketing also.
Okay.
Before we talk about marketing, what about the ASEAN SEA Games? Myanmar will host coming soon the ASEAN Games also. So, what about any idea, to participate and in the ASEAN SEA Games in Myanmar?
Is it the Asian Games come through?
Yes.
Okay. When are they coming through?
Maybe the last all the years.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
So, do you have any participation, maybe like contributions or to the SEA Games ASEAN in Myanmar?
Well, I think so far we haven't identified those opportunities, but obviously as they come up, we'll definitely be quite interested. If you look at what we've done in many of our operations, particularly on big games, in Ghana, we were the sponsor of the Africa Cup of Nations, as well as in Egypt. In South Africa, when we hosted the World Cup, MTN was a sponsor of the World Cup. We also had a partnership with Manchester United. We were the Southern Africa partner of them. So we will look for sponsorship opportunities like that, particularly in Myanmar, because it does allow us to talk to the people in something that they love. So football, very big for us. So definitely we'll play a big role in football, and we'll bring some innovation in football. So we sponsor, for instance, in South Africa, what we call the MTN 8, which is a tournament of the 8 top teams in the league,
Yes.
with a sizable prize money. It's $1 million. One team takes $1 million, and it's the biggest tournament on the continent. So we definitely will bring in the sponsorship space. If the Asian Games are something that is quite big in Myanmar, we'll definitely make sure that we participate in that.
Yeah, thank you. The next question is just talk about the marketing. Maybe it's 1 month ago I introduced Mr. Singles, about MTN.
Sure.
Yes, and also right now, we Myanmar media, international media, want to associate with MTN Group also,
Okay.
especially on the advertisement also.
Yes.
We would like to join, the MTN Group, in our daily newspaper, website newspaper,
Yes.
Amazon, and also as well also. So, do you have any ideas to?
Yes, I think our approach is when we come in, we paint the town yellow. So we use all media types. So we'll be using billboards, we'll be using TV, we'll be using print, newspaper, we'll be using web. We do a lot of events in that space. So I think when the time is right, once we have the license awarding, we'll be calling upon a lot of the local media agencies and a lot of suppliers of advertising, because we believe in a significant investment, because people need to know what the brand is. So if you just go on the internet and trying to look at some of the countries we operate in, when MTN goes in, we paint the town yellow. It'll be yellow all over the place. So it's going to be quite significant. So I think it's important that people like yourself in the media space, in the next few months, after the licensing award, we'll be communicating with players like yourself to say, what can we do differently? Because we like to do things differently. But it is about using every single bit of the advertising element: billboard, radio, TV, print, quite extensive. So we'll be using a lot of investment in advertising here.
So do we have any opportunity for the advertisements?
Yes, I think right now, with especially with Mr. Simpiwe,
Yes.
if you can start giving him your portfolio
Yes.
of what you have,
Yes.
because once the license is issued, we need to move fast.
Okay.
So once you've built up your portfolio,
Yes.
it's good to leave it with Mr. Simpiwe. They'll send it to me in South Africa. So we already have an idea that who does billboards for us, who does newspapers, who's the TV people, because we need to know that upfront. So if you've got a portfolio, please give it to Mr. Simpiwe. Really appreciate that. Excellent.
Yes, I'm very familiar with Mr. Sebuwe.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so for the Myanmar people, how do you agree, to as a breed, as a representation of
Well, I think so far we've met a few agencies, and I'm very impressed with the quality of what we've seen. I think we work very, very well with the people at the and our approach is always to work with the local people and make sure we get the best out of that. So we're looking forward to it. So far, it's been very good.
Can I be?
Yes, you can. Mr. Babi will have my details.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice seeing you.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Okay, first thing I would like to start with, this country has known very little about South Africa. So, so I think we want to, now that you are coming in, company like MTN and other things. So, what would you like to tell about this country, first of all?
I think that the first thing that we'd want to say is that South Africa is the largest and the most significant economy in the entire continent of Africa. Because of our vast mineral resources, gold, diamonds, platinum, etc., we have been able to develop a fairly sophisticated economy, and one that ranks as one of the 7 top emerging developing countries in the world. But it's also a bit of a secret to the rest of the world because South Africa is so far from Asia. And traditionally, Asia has always looked towards Europe, to be their trading partner. And slowly, because of the financial crisis, we now know that the 2 last frontier economies in the world is Africa and Asia. And within that, we know that historically, Myanmar was regarded as the pearl of Southeast Asia. And we want to contribute to making sure that it gets back that status economically on the back of the political democratic reforms that you've been following.
And what do you think of the recent development of this country?
I think that we've always watched Myanmar very, very closely. You may know that we've served as the president of the United Nations Security Council twice in the last 10 years. Myanmar came up as a subject for discussion at the Security Council, and we were one of the only countries, who said that that Myanmar is doing well, that we should allow the country to take its own natural course in relation to the reforms that you've started, and that we wanted the world to stop sanctions and to make sure that you move away from your isolationist stance in the past to become a full member of the community of the world. And I think that you have done that. There's a great deal of optimism that we have, and that we experience also when we come. Maybe just as an aside, one of the things that struck me, I saw a car sticker, that said, "Yes, we can." Now I know that partly it may have to do with the fact that you had President Obama here, but at the same time, I've noticed a renewed sense of confidence and a renewed assertiveness amongst ordinary Myanmar people. You are beginning to make your voice heard. And I think that with us, what we see is a democratic space that is emerging that allows people to exchange views and to be critical even. Because for us in South Africa, of course, we believe that a democracy is as strong as the extent to which it, allows members of civil society, to help us to look at our practices and say, you are doing well here, you are not doing so well there. So what I enjoy particularly about Myanmar is that there's a growing confidence, a growing assertiveness, and there's a sense of a citizenry who wants to be actively involved in shaping, your new future. So that I find extremely exciting.
Okay. And I didn't do my homework. What kind of diplomatic relations between 2 countries?
Yes.
So far,
Yes, we emerged from apartheid in 1994, when we had our first democratic elections. And in 1995, we started the process of forming our diplomatic relations with you. But we were present here from 1996. So it's been 18 years so far. And it's a relationship that started off from a very low base. You know, we wanted to be here. We wanted to see whether we could make a contribution. And it's accelerating at a very, very fast pace as well. I think that from our side, what we are saying is that there are huge similarities between Myanmar and South Africa, you know, for completely different reasons. We were isolated from the rest of the world. You know, we didn't play our full place in the community of nations through the United Nations or any of the other international bodies. You know, and we are 20 years old next year, our democracy. Now, I'm not sure if you are a mother, but 20 years old is so fairly young. You're kind of just beginning to assert your independence, you know. And similarly, we think that we have lessons to teach Myanmar. I think that other lessons that we would want to share with you as well is that, you know, our reconciliation process, our attempts at nation building, you know, to bring together all sectors of our society, and have a society where people are saying we want to move away from the divisions and the painfulness, you know, of our past. You know, I think that we have lessons that we can share with you, because certainly you are in the process of nation building as well, of reconciliating. You have your own crisis, you know, to manage, and you're doing it well. But we would want to share with you how were we able
to for the South African to you know, like being started from zero to
Yes.
where you are right now.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
You can share a lot of things for us
Yes,
as well.
yes,
To
yes.
accelerate the development.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but also just in terms of building one united nation,
Nations, yeah.
you know, committed to one vision of a prosperous Myanmar, where everyone has a voice, and everyone is protected, you know, by laws, etc. And so for us, we think that this is something that we can share with you. Of course, there's no such thing as a one size fits all, but certainly there are things that I think that we can share with you. I think that the other thing also, just looking forward, is that you will be hosting the ASEAN.
Yes.
You will be the chair of the ASEAN in 2014, and in fact, you are hosting the economic forum as well, for
Next
the
month.
Asia Economic
Yes,
Forum.
yes.
So the world is excited about you. There's no way that they would have these forums here if they didn't think that you are becoming a strong and credible player. But at the same time, I think that that for all of us, we need to find a way of making sure that we also contribute. And part of what we would want to do as South Africa is that we have a very strong human rights culture. The protection of the rights of workers is very, very important to us. The issue of the empowerment of women, and gender equality, and making sure that women play their full role in leadership positions. Those kind of things, those are values that is very, very important to us. And so as part of working with you, you know, that is part of the values that we would want to share with you, because we think that unless you have a society that is built very strongly on a commitment to human rights, on the protection of the rights of workers, on the promotion of women to play their full place within society, you know, involving the youth as well, very important, skills development, etc. Those are the kind of things that we would want to share with you. And I think that is what makes us different to many other countries, you know, that we are the moral authority because of our history and because of the way in which we handled our transition with very little violence. It was a peaceful negotiation. We had a national peace accord, and we are still in dialogue with each other. So these are the kind of values that I think we would share with you. And then particularly, of course, through a company like MTN, born and bred in South Africa, steeped in values as well of ethical business practices as well. So doing business with us is very different to doing business with other countries. You certainly would have a different experience with how we relate, to issues of community development and just upliftment of marginalized communities. Yes.
So from the two perspective, I would like to first of all, it's a bit kind of a business economic. So like we have 18 years of diplomatic relationship.
Yes.
So what kind of mutual, like economic benefit we have been receiving each other?
Because Myanmar has just opened up. You've just passed your foreign investment law. We come from a very low base. And you'd be surprised to know that we have a negative trade balance in your favor. So you make more money out of us than we do out of you. So it's not a sustainable path that we are on right now, and it's not mutually beneficial. But for the most part, the exports. The imports of Myanmar to South Africa includes things like live animals, things like wood pulp as well, things like foodstuffs as well, and of course our excellent wine. Because you have a very, very low import on wine tariffs. So, and you've got a growing middle class as well. But we have a very, very small footprint in Myanmar. But we think that there are areas where we can work together very, very well. In the area of the pharmaceutical industry, we have large, credible companies in South Africa. And we are one of the world leaders when it comes to developing generic medication. For example, and I know it's not a particular problem in Myanmar, but we had a problem with HIV and AIDS, and we've just developed a drug where in the past AIDS patients had to take, about 15 tablets a day, reduce it to 1 tablet only, So in terms of innovation and in terms of the cheapness of our medication, that would be one area that we'd be keen to explore with you. The second area is that we have huge reserves of coal, and it's a very clean burning coal. And so this is something that we think we could also talk about exporting to you at a very competitive price. The third area is platinum. We have 80% of the world's reserve in platinum and in chrome and in vanadium and in manganese. And so platinum is something that is used, for example, in the car industry to develop catalytic converters, but it's also used for jewelry. And I know that, of course, you have all of these wonderful precious stones.
Yes, diamonds, and we need diamonds from you.
And you need diamonds from us. So, but of course, also our mining industry is hundreds of years old. We have cutting edge technology, and I think that is also something that we could share our expertise with you. I'm also told that you have so many fish in Myanmar that they die of old age. So that could also be an area of import, to South Africa. But I think that there's huge opportunities. Of course, my minister was the first African minister to come to Myanmar. And that is very significant for the African continent, because we are saying gone are the days when we look at Africa and South Africa and Myanmar and Asia as two different continents far from each other. And we are also saying that, one of the peculiar things is that Australia, as an example, is as far away from Myanmar as South Africa is to Myanmar. So why are we not increasing our trade in that direction as well?
Yes.
So all of those things. But I think that the best thing to do is to come to South Africa. Come and see for yourself what the country is about as a thriving metropolis. But at the same time, I think people think, they think about lions and elephants and whatever. You would have to drive very far before you see a wild animal. Because it is a sophisticated city. We even have a speed train, and it's a very sophisticated economy as well. So it's a huge surprise to most people because they don't expect that. Because mainstream television would only show you, a side of Africa that I think is also slowly we're moving away from. So, but we are open for business and we want to do business with Myanmar. But at the same time, our business also comes with an ethical responsibility to uplift your community and to empower, vulnerable groups where we find them. And that is the different way in which we do business, which I think is quite distinctive from many other countries.
Do you have any idea the figure of the bilateral trade between two countries?
Oh, in rand, let me say that it's 36,000 rand. It is so little, but it's about it's about 4,000 US dollars. 4,000 US dollars. Very little. Against about 1,000 from South Africa. So it's a ratio of 4 to 1. So it's a very small base. The ratio of trade between Myanmar and South Africa is 4 to 1 in favor of Myanmar. And the actual dollar value is only about 4,000 US dollars. Very, very little.
But
Very,
we
very
have
small.
an export of rice, right? To South
You have an export of rice. Are we currently?
Myanmar rice to South Africa export of.
But not rice. Yes. So that's an underexplored area at the moment. And I believe I've just sampled your rice. It's very, very good. So I think that for us. And then clothes as well also, but the volumes are very, very, very small. Yes.
But you have planned to try to boost that,
Yeah, we have to expand it. But at the same time, we're looking at large bankable projects as tangible. So we want to be specific as mining equipment, as coal, as platinum, as our banking services are also excellent, and so we would want to share our expertise as well in how our banking system runs and what kind of regulatory practices do we have in place that help to protect us against the fallout from the financial crisis. In fact, I was saying earlier that South Africa, we are doing so well that we were able to give money to the Europeans, 2 billion US dollars.
Wow.
So that tells you something about the fact that as a different type of country. But I've picked up a great deal of goodwill and willingness from the side of the Myanmar government to do business with South Africa. So I think that we stand at a moment where we really will be able to take off into a future, where we can have more sustainable trade patterns. And then of course you have a very active embassy in Pretoria. who's trying its level best to also make sure that they attract businesses. But in the near future, we are working on getting a trade delegation in those areas around mining, around energy, to come to Myanmar to look at the opportunities here and see what is possible in terms of a joint collaboration with one of your companies.
Also in the social aspect, I think South Africa has been really doing well with CSR programs.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Because I think our two countries are like a kind of a similar, the size of the population,
Right,
and
yes.
the variety of these income groups.
Yes, yes,
And,
yes.
From the way that we are developing sort of the same, and also the geological,
Right.
like we have mountains,
Right,
and different
yes.
vast lands. and
Yeah,
things like
there's
that.
these huge similarities. We also have a big rural community like you do, but at the same time, we also have more and more people congregating towards the cities. At the same time, yes, the size of our population is the same, but also in the sense that we do have such great mineral wealth. We have been able to invest quite a bit in infrastructure locally, so electrification programs, things like decent and adequate housing, a health system. We are now working on developing a universal health coverage scheme so that ordinary people can also get access to health services. At the moment, pregnant women are allowed free health care, as well as children up to the age of 6 years old. Our literacy level is also quite good. We are well on our way to meeting the Millennium Development Goals, particularly in the area of primary school access, universal primary school access for girls and boys. So we're doing quite well. And of course, when it comes to women's representation in government, we are the third highest in the world when it comes to women in parliament. Norway is first, and then it's Rwanda, and then it's South Africa. But we were number one for a long time. And of course, more and more, we also have female presidents as well. We've got a female president in Liberia, in Malawi, so we're doing well. Yes, I think that we've been able to achieve all of the milestones that speaks to good governance, and that has helped us to become the one country in the world with the second largest number of embassies. I have to switch gears. From MTN to bilateral relationships quickly. Please talk for 2 minutes.